Chad Barrett was like, man, he was inches away from being like the greatest sub of all time. He came on at like 75 or 80, and in 90 seconds he had put a headed ball, a beautiful ball, was made a reaction save and tipped just over the bar, and then 30 seconds after that he gets another great ball and just rockets it at this crazy angle straight off the woodwork. I mean, Chad Barrett came in and just made an immediate impact, but just couldn't get him to fall. And for the last 30 minutes between, from like the 80th to the 120th, the Sounders were just snake bit. They completely controlled possession and just really dominated the game. Again, not pretty, but really just it was all in the Earthquakes' half, and it just wouldn't happen. And it was getting more tense and more tense. Earthquakes got a couple of good chances, but nothing crazy. And and then it went to penalties. And after the Sounders had been the one hitting the woodwork all night, they just drilled their penalties, and the Quakes didn't. They put up Alan Gordon second, and he hit it off the woodwork. So the Sounders were up 2-1, and then the Sounders put their third one in, and Marcus Hahnemann saved the third PK from Earthquakes, and at that point it's 3-1 going into the fourth round. It was over. We just had to drill one in, and Lamar Nagel put it in the corner. It was a crazy game. I don't have any problem. I don't feel like the Sounders got away with one. It's not like I really feel like they had more chances, but it very well could have gone the other way. I mean, any time it goes to PKs, like it's a scary situation, man. But
I got to call out, what's his name, Dave Bingham, who is the goalkeeper for San Jose, who is not. I mean, I don't even know how many games he started this year. I think it's 3, 2.
Sure.
But backup goalkeeper put in an absolutely great performance. I mean,
he Ramondo'd us.
He blocked so many shots. There were long stretches of that game where he looked like the only person completely engaged with the game, but he was on it. He was in bullet time. It was good. So that's a good time for San Jose.
Agree. Yeah.
Yes, he put out one of the best attacks in MLS history.
One more time, Ian?
So he didn't shut out one of the best attacks in MLS history. I'm just shouting out to Scott Goodwin for the Real Hawks. I have to keep bragging about that.
What about some crazy Open Cup games?
Jeez, man, we had a fun Open Cup night. I kept telling Jessica, I was like, I love this tournament. Like I'm reading her things like, oh man, there were 5 red cards in one game. Like, when does that happen? And the tournament is just insane. It's so much fun. I love the one you're done. I love the passion that goes into it, especially from the minor league teams, because this is it for them. This is Ian. Yes, we're very happy for you.
No, but that's the thing that it's a shame that by and large in Europe the all-league tournaments, with the exception of the FA Cup, don't get much love. The King's Cup in Spain is kind of an afterthought for people. Not as big in Germany and France. Not as important in Italy. England is the one where people really get into the FA Cup and really love it, because their league system there is so big and so well supported at all levels. But I get the magic of why that is such a special tournament, and why it's unfortunate that the big 4 or 5 teams don't seem to treat it with the same importance that some of the smaller teams do, because it is fantastic to see a bunch of people who that's their game of the season, and they're just going to absolutely fly at people who are making way more money than them and have way more experience. And
I mean, Wigan, right? That was that's the magic of that is a team. I mean, fuck DC United last year.
Yeah.
That was your crowning achievement in a just season of shit. You still managed to earn
win as many trophies as New York and more than the Galaxy.
That's right. That's right. And on top of it, I mean, it's a major trophy. It's one of the 4 ways that gets you into Champions League, and you have been anointed as the winner of a knockout round of 100 teams in the country. That's amazing.
So here's the only thing for me. The tournament is great, and I loved it in May. And maybe it's just because I'm not living in North Carolina and not going to the Railhawks games, and then I would probably have a completely different outlook on this. But I'm not feeling this tournament as much as I was the last couple of years. If
Well-
only because these last 2 rounds have been during the World Cup, and it's hard to split.
Oh yeah, there is
Yeah.
another tournament going on right now.
It's hard to split my
heard of this.
applications that way. It's
Yeah.
like all right, well I gotta think about the U.S. and all these World Cup teams during the day, and then later that night think about the Redhawks, and the transition happens. It's just not as it's not as easy.
You don't spend your whole week looking forward to that Open Cup night because there's World Cup games every single day, multiple times a day.
Right. Whereas last year I spent, weeks looking ahead to the eventual Galaxy game and the Chivas games, because both of those games have happened now 3 years in a row, and those were really exciting to go to. And
Well, there's good news. The World Cup's going to end. The Open Cup will go on.
So I mean, and I guess this might just be an isolated problem because I know a lot of people like the Open Cup no matter when it happens. So maybe it's just a me thing.
Are you saying that the quality of play in the Open Cup is lower than it is in the World Cup?
Yeah.
That's heresy.
And I mean, so the point that you're also kind of making without trying is that the quality is lower because of call-ups. Like, the Open Cup is already a tournament that teams have to schedule around their league play, and they have to schedule potentially around CCL, depending on when that all compacts in. And so now you even have teams that, they don't typically put out a full starting 11 at this stage, but some of them don't have the option to.
Right.
We couldn't play DeAndre Yedlin last night when we would have. He's a young kid. He plays 90 minutes every single competition, and he wasn't out there because of a call-up.
That's true, but a lot of them
couldn't come off the bench, and everything that happened with Kansas City against Portland,
That's true, and that's why RSL lost to Atlanta, is because they had so many guys out. But as a result of the World Cup break, a lot of teams have been putting that featured. You guys lost me for a couple seconds, didn't you?
Yeah.
All right, I'll start that line of thought again. A lot of the minor league teams who would normally see, we always saw the second, joked about seeing the second LA Galaxy, but we saw all of those guys. We saw Donovan, we saw Keane, we saw Sarvas, we saw Pinedo, we saw Bruce Arena. When the Cosmos beat New York, Petke put out pretty much a first-team lineup, with the exception of Cahill and Henry. RSL, though they didn't have a whole lot, when Atlanta beat them, they put out who they did have. They put out Atenella. They put out Plata, I think. I think he's
Yeah.
So
he's good.
I think the quality of play has been better in these rounds of the Open Cup than they normally are. But obviously they're not up to MLS level.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine, because that's not why people like the Open Cup. But it's also that they're competing with the World Cup, and that's what has my affectation split. And that's, it's not going to happen every year. It's every 4 years.
And that's going to happen because we have a league in this country that does not run on the usual schedule. That's going to happen anytime there's a major tournament. When CONMEBOL comes up here, we will have that in 2016. Yeah. I mean, that's going to be a cluster.
Yeah.
You are going to have Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Uruguay, Colombia coming and playing in Seattle, in San Francisco, in LA at the same time that MLS is going on. I mean, that's going to be insane.
And the Open Cup. The Open Cup.
And the Euros will be on in the midday.
Yeah, and the Euros will be on. And then, life, maybe people have a job or some kind of other shit.
Loved ones, sure.
Yeah, loved ones. I mean, theoretically, I guess. But yeah, I mean that's that's an inevitable consequence of summer scheduling, and that's why we should move to a winter schedule. Just kidding.
Oh man!
I was about to stab you with this highlighter through the computer.
Let's talk about the winter schedule, and then we'll talk pro rel.
Yeah. Okay. And then no salary cap. And then 19th century rules for football, because fuck it, why not? So did anybody was anybody actively following Colorado or Atlanta, or did you just see the match thread and then click into it and go, what the fuck just happened in there?
That's pretty accurate.
Okay.
I went back and found the video and actually watched it's the alleged stomping. I don't know how alleged it is. Or let's change that to the alleged on purpose stomping.
Yeah. Because there was pretty clearly some stomping going on.
But I mean, I feel like you could make an argument that first we should talk about what we're talking about here. We're talking about Atlanta and Colorado, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Eric Winona getting sent off, and 100 other people also getting sent off.
Yeah, I believe the final count on that was 5 red cards and 3 coaches sent off. Mm-hmm. I went back and watched the replay. It's insane. I've never seen anything like it in this sport. It kind of looked par for the course for hockey, but we have pretty different rules in soccer.
Well, you can't stomp people's face in hockey. That's even a bigger no-no because you have blades on your feet.
That's true. That's true. I guess I was more thinking of like the confrontations and potential punches that were thrown. In hockey, that's 2 minutes in the box. But it was pretty crazy. There was a lot of people losing their temper, and I see why Winaldo was thrown. There's no clear replay of it, but according to all of the announcers and his own players and pleading with the fourth official, Mastroeni basically maintains he never left his technical box, that while everybody else was on the field fighting and Winaldo's out there screaming at people and all that, he maintains, and a lot of other people do, that he never actually left. So no one's really sure if the ref just got confused or just said, fuck it, I'm ejecting everybody, or how that went down. But it was a bloodbath.
Given that the ref took a solid minute or so to walk across the field and try and break up what was turning into a brawl, I wouldn't be surprised if he was just like, yeah, whatever, you, and I don't know, you two. Oh, you're all out of here. Like it was like as clear an example of a referee completely losing control of a match as I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I guess if you're used to watching baseball brawls, all of that looks normal to you, but like that's really rare in soccer. That just does not happen like that. And it's normally because a referee is in there amongst players to stop them, and also that kind of behavior is just for assholes. So it just doesn't come up very often.
So it takes what, 5, 6, 7 minutes to sort it out. And when all is said and done, you have both head coaches ejected, an assistant head coach ejected, and you're playing 10-man Colorado against 8-man Atlanta. That's insane. And
Atlanta still held on and won. Yeah, they only gave up 1 goal in playing with 8 men. Like.
Yeah, they went into that scrum 2-0 and lasted 25 minutes or so, only giving up a goal.
Yeah.
Good for Atlanta, I guess. I don't know. I hate them. I'm glad.
You're glad
I really do.
won. They're going through.
I know. But they're also shamed themselves. So.
Who are they going to end up playing? Chicago or something?
Yeah. Or is it Columbus? I can't remember.
Did Columbus move?
Oh, the winner of Chicago Columbus tonight. They play tonight, don't they?
So wait, why do you hate that? That's an NASL team. Why do you hate? Why do you hate them?
Okay, so last year, we had a chance to win the spring title. The Railhawks did, against Atlanta. It was a home game. It was actually a really good experience. We ended up tying them, but Atlanta dove all over the goddamn place every single time. It was like Winaldo was already coaching them, but that wasn't happening yet. I don't know. They played the game shamefully, and the game ended in a 1-1 tie, and a win would have given us a title. And then I moved to Minnesota and watched Atlanta play Minnesota in Minnesota 4 days later. In another game that had Atlanta lost, we would have won the title, but they won 3-0 against Minnesota, and it was sad first, and it was also the second straight game where they dove all over the place and conducted themselves in a terrible manner. And yeah.
So, do you think that this is just that team, or do you think there's something in the water and we can expect this from the MLS Atlanta franchise?
Oh, I imagine the MLS Atlanta franchise is going to be a lot different. They're also the Atlanta supporters group is not liked among NASL circles.
Okay.
They in New York are known for scarf stealing and other things. So.
Yeah. I hear a lot about like how that used to go on all the time in USL days, and like sometimes people even talk about it very nostalgically, and it was like, just what? Why?
Yeah.
What?
So.
Okay, well, that's good to know. So maybe the fervor of the Atlanta soccer fan has been underestimated by the major media, because there was a lot of talk about like, oh, they won't get into soccer and they won't be really into it. First comes hooliganism, and then comes organic fandom. I don't know. I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, I don't know how you grow from that. But
Yeah.
Hopefully, the fact is that the Atlanta soccer fans are just not major crossover into other sports, because it's really the other sports that have given Atlanta fans such bad names as being fair weather and not showing up for their teams. And I know I personally have some crossover, but there's a lot of guys that are, in my social circle with the Sounders that really soccer's it for them. They never grew up on football or baseball or anything else. Like this is the sport that's been chosen, and I'm sure that also comes from, kind of a self-selecting group that kind of was against sports maybe until they found soccer. A lot of hipsters and techies that kind of, were not really sports people until they found that soccer was different. So maybe the Atlanta soccer fan base is more passionate than we think, and it's, the other sports that are just failing.
Well, on that note, Dallas and Houston did not have a whole bunch of red cards, but was also a pretty good game. I watched the recap of that, and I just, one of the things that I was thinking watching Dallas and Houston play, Houston has very good support. They've been very successful. Dallas has been pretty hit or miss over the last couple of years, but it seems like they need a rivalry, and as soon as Houston moves over to the West, they're gonna have one. I think that's gonna help Dallas a lot as a franchise, and I'm actually excited for them about that, because you can tell those games mean a lot to both of those groups of supporters, and that's the kind of thing. Like think about all the people in Portland and Seattle and Vancouver if you didn't have Portland, Seattle, and Vancouver. You'd just be like, come watch soccer. It's like, why? Because it's great, like just the whole like we're gonna go play against the guys down the road it's just so important. I'm glad that the league is picking up on that with Orlando and Atlanta coming in around the same time, and NYCFC and Red Bulls being able to play off against each other, and I think it's going to be really good for the league to
That's why they need to put a team in Carolina and not Miami, because Atlanta has a more natural rivalry with us than they do with Miami.
Is that okay? Yeah, I suppose Miami is kind of like Miami.
Yeah, Miami doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, they really don't.
They like it when their basketball team wins.
I guess.
So,
not to crazy go tangent, but has anybody heard anything new about the Miami Stadium situation? Because all I heard was it's
that Don Garber is telling Beckham, yeah.